Here, it's only 10 20. We start at 10:30, so we'll probably get here by 10:30. If you want to, just be aware that it leads to the paper really quick. So, going to do that, make sure that you put something underneath it, like that, or maybe there. Just be careful. Try not to do that. So, we call it permits. Don't forget the little people, okay? How are you doing? Good. Almost okay. We don't want to work with it.
They're ready. Yes.
Just a few more minutes.
Okay.
We've been strugglers. We're a little late today, but it's a little cold today too. So
Yeah, right.
a little different. So too long ago. Well, we meet in the middle.
Okay.
We go outside, we meet in the middle, and then we walk to the together.
And then just give me a minute to get up there for you. And
Yes, yeah. What I'll do is I will give a brief introduction to the day. It's eventually.
okay, good. Okay, okay, perfect. Huh? Go ahead.
Yes. Thank you again to Kathy Charrington for being here to provide us with beautiful music. Hosanna! Hosanna in the highest. Blessed is the one who comes in the name of the Lord. Hosanna in the highest. Welcome to the Sunday of Palms and Passion. This is the day that we celebrate what is sometimes called Jesus' triumphal entry into Jerusalem. It is the final week of Jesus' earthly life, and it is the week that will lead us into what we call Holy Week, which is the lead up then that we remember even now to Easter. And as we gather today, in a moment, we're going to receive some palms. And what I invite you to do is, for the rest of the day, whenever you hear or say the word Hosanna, wave those palms. We're going to talk about that in today's message a little bit. Today is a different day than usual, not just because of the holy day that it is, but because of how we structure worship on this day. We will be here in the sanctuary with our friends who are joining us on YouTube for the first half of the service, about a half an hour, where we will have songs and prayers and a message. And then we will take our hosannas to the street. We will take our palms and literally we will bundle ourselves up. We will go out to meet our siblings from Grace Episcopal in between the two buildings. We will come together and we will parade the palms around the community. For those who are able to parade by foot, you're able to walk that. It is a short distance. We're working that part out exactly as we go, but it will be somewhere between 1 block and 2 blocks. But once we make that loop, if you are able to go by foot, we invite you to go by foot, and we will walk together. If going by foot is hard, then we invite you instead to drive it. If we have some people, in fact, that are willing to take other passengers or help some people carpool, that's really helpful. And you can wave the palms out the window. Keep one hand on the wheel, but wave them out the window. And if, as you make that loop, you find that you pass us, because we don't have a parade permit, so don't go creeping slow along with the walkers, especially down Rochester Road and Main Street. But if you lap us, go around again. We will still be there. When we end that time this year, we're going to do something a little bit different. At the end of that walk, we come back from this direction. We're going to stop outside of our building, where we are going to begin the celebration of communion. And so from outside of the building, we will have the invitation to the table and the blessing of the bread. And then we will work our way over to our neighbors at Grace Episcopal who have the cup. And they will bless the cup and they will serve the cup outside of Grace Episcopal. A couple things to know about that, just so that you are aware. And we'll go over this at that time again too, but so that our folks know, because it's a little different, they always use wine. They don't use grape juice. And so if that is something you want to take, they do it one of two ways, either by common cup, where you take a sip and the cup gets passed to the next person and they take a sip, okay? Or by intinction, which is where you take the bread, you dip it into the cup and you eat it. We're also reminded that one element is as good as two. So if you don't want that element at all, you don't have to take it, and God is just as fully present in the bread as in both, so that's all right too. Once we get over there and we've completed communion, we will have our reading of the Passion. That is the reading that leads us into the reminder of what Holy Week is going to bring, and we will close in prayer. You are welcome to leave things here and come back afterwards to get them. You can stay for coffee, hot cocoa, all of that stuff. We will still be around. So that is our layout for the day. But we start on the other end of Holy Week. We start with our reminder of the palms and what they mean, and the way in which we shout and wave, the way in which we love Jesus, the way in which we are grateful upon grateful for all that he is about to give in the week ahead. And so we say, friends, this is the day that the Lord has made. Let us rejoice. Let us be glad in it. I'm going to invite any of our children or youth who would like to, if you would come on up, we're going to rise in a moment and sing our opening hymn. And as we sing, if you guys would be willing to take some of the palms and make sure everybody has a palm. The rest, everybody who wants to say there, rise and we'll sing hymn number 88, All Glory, Laud, and Honor. Would you join me in our opening prayer together? O Christ, you entered the city as a poor man, not in style, but simply. Yet still you caused uproar and questions everywhere. You drew the expectations of a hungry crowd and brought buried conflicts to light. May we, who are sometimes swayed by the crowd's approval and who often avoid conflict for fear of its cost to us, hold fast to the gospel of truth and justice and follow faithfully in your way of compassion and solidarity with those who are poor and excluded, wherever it may lead us. Amen. Our readings this morning are participatory, so you will see that in our first reading here from the Gospel of Mark, it is responsive, and there is a place for us to again lift up our hosannas. When they were approaching Jerusalem at Bethphage and Bethany near the Mount of Olives, he sent two of his disciples and said to them, "Go into the village ahead of you, and immediately as you enter it, you will find tied there a colt that has never been ridden. Untie it and bring it. If anyone says to you, 'Why are you doing this?' just say this, 'The Lord needs it, and will send it back here immediately.'" They went away and found a colt tied near a door outside in the street. As they were untying it, some of the bystanders said to them, "What are you doing untying the colt?" They told them that Jesus had said, and they allowed them to take it. Then they brought the colt to Jesus and threw their cloaks on it, and he sat on it. Many people spread their cloaks on the ground, and others spread leafy branches that they cut in the fields. Then those who went ahead and those who followed were shouting together, "Hosanna! Blessed is the one who comes in the name of the Lord. Blessed is the coming kingdom of our ancestor David. Hosanna in the highest heaven." Then he entered Jerusalem and went into the temple. And when he had looked around at everything, as it was already late, he went out to Bethany with the 12. And together, would you join in a collective reading of the prophet Isaiah, chapter 50, verse 4, as it's printed in the bulletin. "The Lord God has given me the tongue of a teacher, that I may know how to sustain the weary with a word. Morning by morning he wakens my ear to those who are taught." So we shout, as did those that were there that day, "Hosanna! Hosanna!" What does Hosanna mean? Anybody know? Celebrate? Any guesses? It is a celebration. It means yay. That's it. Just be yay, yay. Right? Yay. It means yay. That's what Hosanna means. So they were shouting to Jesus. They saw Jesus coming and they shouted to Jesus, yay. And I've got to be honest, I always thought it was a little bit weird if you're Jesus. Because Jesus, we think, knows very well that he was going into Jerusalem for the last time and he was never coming back out. We know that Jesus knew, or we think that Jesus knew, that when he went in, he was in his final days before he was going to die. And here's all of these people outside going, yay! It seems kind of strange. But then I began to think a little more, and I thought, yeah, but he knew who he was doing it for. And I wonder sometimes if it wasn't those hosannas, those yay for you, Jesus, we love you, thank you, yays, hosannas, that helped to carry Jesus through a little bit. That when he was at that place where he had to confront some of his friends, he had to say to Peter, you're going to deny me. He had to say to Judas, you're going to betray me. That when he was weeping in the garden the night before he got arrested and his friends kept falling asleep on him, that some part of him said, I remember one time people cheered for me. I remember one time people encouraged me. And that maybe those hosannas kind of rung in his ears and his spirit, and they're part of what got him through. That when Jesus was arrested with a kiss, that when Jesus was beaten and flogged, that maybe some part of him thought, one time, I remember people cheered for me. And that ultimately, when he was on the cross, murdered, that some part of him was able to hold on to that, to say, one time, people said I was good, and he held on to that. And maybe that's part of what got him through. Now, back then, they said Hosanna. We've had 2,000 years to think about this almost, and I wonder if maybe we can't put some better words to our Hosanna. If Jesus was in front of you today and said to you, when I'm going through a hard time, when I'm struggling, what can you say to me that you're going to do with your life? That you're going to try to work really hard to do? That you want to try to do for me? So that I've got something to hold on to. That if Jesus was struggling, he could look at you and say, I'm having a hard time, but I know that she said that she's going to go out and help hungry people. And I know she's out there trying to do that, and that gets me through. I know that he said he's going to work on his anger, and that helped to get me through. I know that they said that they're going to work on their patience, that they said that they're going to try to be extra nice to friends, that they're going to try to identify bullying when it happens, that they're going to try to love themselves a little bit more. What is your Hosanna? If Jesus is in front of you right now this morning, doesn't have to be your lifetime Hosanna, just this morning's, and said to you, what do you want to tell me you're going to do for me, or try to do, or want to do, so that when I'm struggling, I can remember they are out there doing this? What would you tell him? Now, you have a marker, and you have a poem. And here's the invitation. Whatever it is that you're thinking of, write it on the palm. Let this become your Hosanna for this year. If you can, it might be easiest to summarize it in a word or a little phrase. If it's, I'm going to be kind to my friends, it might just be the word friends, and you know what that means. If it might be, I'm going to try to be more patient with so-and-so, maybe just the word patience, and you know what that means. What is your Hosanna for this year? What is the thing that you are promising to Jesus to try to do during those moments? Let's take just a few minutes. Write it on your palms. You will have an opportunity to share it, but nobody will have to. So you can be honest about it, because it can just be for you and God. I'll tell you one more little secret. If you don't have room, or you really don't want it to be seen, most of these palms open up. You can write it on the inside and fold it back closed if you want to. Let's take just a few moments to do this. And if you're joining us from YouTube, I would invite you to find a piece of paper and just write down your Hosanna on that piece of paper. Let's take a few minutes. When the disciples, when the crowd was going out there and they met Jesus, they didn't go out with palms in their hands. They weren't leaving the house that day and they said, let's make sure we get the keys, let's grab a snack and get the palms, right? They were just doing their thing. They were out in the world, and all of a sudden, here comes Jesus riding on this donkey, and he had enough of a reputation that people knew who he was. And they said, we want to give him something. We want to shout, we want to cheer, we want to do something more than just, saying, yay, what do we do? And they thought, palms, right? We can lift these up, they make us feel a little taller, we wave them, he can see them better, right? Let's do something special. They got them. That is, they looked at what was around them and they said, what can we use to do this? Right here, right now. I also remember that Jesus has said, what you have done for the least of these, you have done for me. And part of how I hear that is that sometimes the shouts that we give of Hosanna, the shouts that we say, I'm working on this for you, Lord, the need for that doesn't come from Jesus stepping up to us and saying, as Jesus of Nazareth, I'm going through a hard time. What do you have to get me through it? Sometimes it comes from the homeless person on the street corner, because Jesus is in them. Sometimes it comes from the classmate who's having a hard time, or the person who is sitting all by themselves or having a hard day and says, what can you give me? And we don't always have time to go off and get the best thing we could, right? I'll buy him a card. I'll go do this thing for him. I'll go do that thing for him. Sometimes it's just right then. What is right around you, or maybe within you, to just give them in that moment. To say, I see you, I love you, you are worthwhile, you matter. When we do it for the least of these, we are doing it for Jesus himself. When we shout our hosannas that we've written to the person who's right in front of us needing them, we're shouting them to Jesus himself. And we are loving Jesus' world. I would imagine that once you've named it, that in the coming week or weeks, you will probably notice it around you even more. When you do, what thing can you do, no matter how big or how little, to sort of shout your hosanna to that person, to let them know about your love, to let them know about the fact that they are valuable, to care for them? Whatever it is you named, however it is you name it, you'll find opportunities. So here is my invitation to us this time. I'm going to do the phrase that we did at the very start of things, right? I'll say Hosanna, but instead of shouting it back directly, right? I'll say Hosanna, you say whatever's written on your palm, all together. If the palm is just for you and it is sort of private, that is okay, and instead, just say Hosanna, okay? Hosanna. Hosanna. Hosanna in the highest. Above in the highest. Blessed is the one who comes in the name of the Lord. Hosanna. Friends, as we go out momentarily here into the sidewalk to meet our friends, carry this with you. Know that you are showing this to everybody who is out there as we go. And let's shout our hosannas boldly. Let's sing our sending song here then. Hymn number 89, Hosanna, loud Hosanna. And you decide if you want to say those words as Hosanna or your word. Let's rise in body or spirit as we're able together and sing.
To
And so, friends, as we go from this place into the next, we remember that the Spirit of God goes with us. It is in every person that we will see and every person that we will meet, and we continue to sing those hosannas. So let us go boldly, walking among the people, knowing that the Christ goes with us. Amen. Bundle up, grab your coats, grab your palms. Let us meet our friends, and if our kids would be willing to grab a few extra palms, if you see anybody on the way, run one of the palms to them. We do it at the very end. I know our friends are waiting. Or is it very long? They're out there waiting for us. Oh, yeah. If you want to, you can take your bulletins with you too when you go. Also, the space will be open, so after we are done, you will be able to get back into the building. So, I will leave that up to you. You probably don't need a ton, but if you want to take, 3 or 4, if you guys each take 3 or 4, then if you see anybody who's out there and you want to walk up and give it to them, give it to them. Fine is fine.